Good morning, y'all. This is Mrs. Wethington, and today we are going to annotate Pavlov's Bewitched dogs. You will find this passage in the Reading in the Content Area Social Studies, which is published by Glencoe McGraw-Hill. So let's get started and flip over to the questions. Let's read our questions first. So if you have not already, please get the screenshots from the Canvas assignment, Pavlov's Bewitched Dogs. If you cannot get the screenshots from the assignment, I emailed all of the screenshots for this week to everyone yesterday, which was Tuesday. So either way, you should go in and download the screenshots and be ready to annotate using markup. So let's go to Edit, choose Markup, and choose your yellow highlighter, please. So number 2, this passage is mostly about, please highlight passage mostly about experiments with different kinds of dogs, the meaning of salivate, how Ivan Pavlov's work with stimuli changed ideas about behavior, or the life of Ivan Pavlov. Number 3, Pavlov's dogs responded to newspapers, the sound of a bell, forks, knives, and spoons, or saliva. Number 4, from this passage, it is reasonable to conclude that, please highlight, it is reasonable to conclude that bells should be rung at meal times. Pavlov enjoyed being a famous person. Dogs can be taught to do anything. Or Pavlov became more interested in dogs' brains than in their digestion. Number 5, people said the dogs were bewitched because Pavlov seemed like an evil wizard. The dogs were salivating without a direct stimulus. The dogs performed in a circus sideshow. The dogs never slept after Pavlov's experiment. And number 6, the word incredible means unpleasant, new, confusing, or unbelievable. Go in and highlight incredible means and be sure to look for the word incredible in the passage. So we are finished here, and let's flip back to the passage. We will read question 1 first. And as usual, question 1 involves the main idea, the statement that is too broad, and the statement that is too narrow. A, Ivan Pavlov was a Russian scientist. B, Pavlov's dogs salivated to such stimuli as bells and lights. Pavlov's experiments led to important psychological findings. Alright, so let's come up here to the top. Grab your marker, please. Actually, no, let's highlight Pavlov's Bewitched Dogs first. And that is our heading, so let's label that. And also, something I meant to say earlier in the email, when you are annotating this, please do not take pictures of this tutorial and turn that in as your annotation. I need to see you annotate your own screenshots, doing your own markup. Alright, so that is the heading. Up here we need to label this genre, which is informational text, otherwise known as nonfiction. And we will number our paragraphs, which there are 5. And now we will start reading the passage. So in paragraph 1, is behavior learned? Psychologists have discussed this question for years. They began thinking about it because of the work of Ivan Pavlov. He was a Russian professor of physiology. Here is his story. In carefully controlled experiments, Pavlov showed that dogs could be taught to salivate. Critics said the dogs were bewitched, and Pavlov was probably as surprised as his critics, but the evidence was there. The discovery was accidental. Pavlov was doing research on digestion and on the central nervous system. For his research, he collected saliva from animals in his laboratory. To get the saliva, he had an experimenter put meat powder in the laboratory dogs' mouths. The meat powder was a stimulus to get the dogs' mouths to water. Soon he noticed that the dog's mouth watered even before they got the meat powder. In fact, their mouths began to water at the sight of the experimenter. The experimenter had become the stimulus. Pavlov wondered if other stimuli could get the dogs to salivate. He paired the meat powder with the sound of a tuning fork, the turning on of a light, and the ringing of a bell. He got the same results. An automatic physical response, called a reflex, is one of the most basic actions animals perform. Sneezing in a dusty place and shivering in the cold are reflex actions. But Pavlov's experiments showed that reflexes could be taught. This led the way to further thinking on whether behavior is natural or learned. It may not sound so incredible today, but at the turn of the 20th century, Pavlov's research seemed remarkable. And go in and circle incredible there. It brought about new research methods and ideas. Pavlov continued his work on the nervous system of the dog. He experimented with different stimuli. His work became the basis for much of modern psychology. Alright, so now that you have finished your highlighting, I need you to answer your questions. Once you have answered your questions, I need you to post your answer choices in the SchoolNet assignment. As always, if you have any questions, please email me. Have a good day.